What's up everyone, it's Bones here. In today's video, I'll be featuring yet another Dark World video, but in this video, I'll be showing how to play around certain cards like Dark Ruler No More, while also featuring some of the other cool options in the deck. But before I begin, if you happen to enjoy content like this, clicking on those thumbs up and subscribe buttons would be greatly appreciated, as it goes a long way in supporting the channel and shows me that you like content like this. So to start here, we're going to activate Genta, and Genta will allow us to get a copy of Gates, and from here we can activate the copy of Catalyzer, and the Catalyzer will pitch the Snow, and the Snow will get us a search for our Grapha, and Grapha is pivotal in having access to, as it just gives you all of the revival capabilities along with getting Dark World monsters back in hand, as you'll see momentarily. But we're going to activate the copy of Gates, then use the Bigfoot's effect in hand, and that'll hit our Grapha, and we'll get a draw, which we get the Thunderbird off of the Bigfoot. And now we'll use the Gates, which will pitch our Brow, and we're doing this in order to get another card in hand for the dangers, as the Brow can get a draw here as we special summon back the Genta off of its effect. Then we'll get yet another card in hand via the Grapha, which won't really be staying there for long, as we're going to use the Genta effect, get us ourselves a second copy of Gates, and then we can activate the Gates here, then use the Thunderbird in hand, and this will hit our Nessie. The Nessie will then get us a search as we draw into the Silva off of the Thunderbird. We get the Mothman in order to ensure a discard here, as well as getting a level 4 since we have Catalyzer on board. But we're going to get our draws now with the Coach King as we draw into Cerulea. We're going to do it again as we draw into Library, and now we're going to get it for one final time as we're going to draw into Jackalope, putting us at 6 cards in hand. From here we're going to use the Gates effect, pitching the Cerulea, and now it's kind of cool here, before we commit to any plays, we'll get the mandatory effects of Silva and Cerulea, which will automatically rip a pair of cards in our opponent's hand, so that we don't have to overcommit and do this pretty early on in order to play around Nib as well. So we're going to get the Grapha back. We're going to go into the Akashic. The Akashic will use its effect, return the Cerulea, activate the Gates, then we can use the Gates again in order to pitch our Cerulea. The Cerulea will then activate, go to our opponent's board, and then we'll just pitch the Silva here off the Cerulea. Then we'll revive the Silva off of its own effect, as we're going to also put 2 more cards back to our opponent's deck from their hand, and then we can revive the Grapha, activate the Library, in which now we'll use the Library, pitching the Rainbow, as we're going to get the secondary effect of Library, which will be able to pitch another card here, as we're going to pitch the Silva, draw us into a pair of cards here as we get Snow and Beige, and then we'll return our Rainbow to our field through returning the Silva to our hand. And then we can link away here as we go into our Security Dragon, and now we're going to use the Security Dragon's effect, returning our Cerulea, and then from here we can just go into a 1600 attack Appaloosa. Again, you don't have to overcommit, you're just emptying space at this point, and our opponent only has 1 card in hand. So now we're going to start using the Danger Mothman effect in order to draw 1 and pitch 1 as well. We'll then use the Danger Jackalope as well, and at this point we're just getting bodies on board and discarding to see whatever we get. But we're going to hit the Snow, which will allow us to search our Ascension, and from here we can use the Accession effect, which will allow us to pitch the Beige and the Grapha, and then from here we can use the Beige effect, which will revive itself, and then we can return it to the hand in order to get Grapha. This will give us our rank 8, and if you're wondering, Zombie Stein is how we'll play around Dark Ruler No More. But before we can do just that, there is one more thing we need to do, as now we're going to use the Accession effect, and this is exactly what you need to do in order to be able to play around Dark Ruler No More, as what you want to happen is have the Accession set, so that if your opponent does activate the Dark Ruler No More, you can activate the Accession, and then chain the Zombie Stein to the Accession, allowing you to target the Dark Ruler No More and negate that effect, while also putting it into defense position. So we're going to start working on the rest of our end board from here, as we're going to get the Beige effect to revive itself. We'll then get a Dweller on top of everything else, normal summon this early because we've yet to normal summon, and this will give us our Masquerena with the set of the Accession, giving us a board that effectively allows our opponent going to do nothing. Considering they're just on 2 cards, we have 2 monster negations. Grapha can change one of their effects into discarding one of my own. The Dweller doesn't let them use the graveyard. And then we have Masquerena into Unicorn after we use the Zombie Stein, with an accession to back that. So onto the deck profile. I've gone to a more traditional version of the deck, as the only one that I've showcased was just builds I was using for the channel, in which I was just throwing a bunch of options that you could play in the deck to give you more options and help you adapt to different formats. As you can see, we've cut down to 1 beige with the 2 catalyzer, and I like catalyzer at multiples. I think 3 might be too much. I have like 2, and with the increased danger lineup, it's just easier to draw into. We also added the 3 allures and the 1 upstart, just a turbo, but it's something that you can definitely play around with through the Dark Spirits Mastery, because the deck isn't necessarily all rainbows and sunshine. Unfortunately, with the amount of danger cards, and sometimes having to luck into something with the allures, your hand could start really good, but the board could end up underwhelming if you don't draw well. That being said, going first, you should always be able to hand loop your opponent, or at least in most case scenarios. We also added the 3 brow because of the rest of the danger lineup. The bigger the danger lineup gets that you play, the more Dark Worlds you want to play, but you also want to play the only ones that are absolutely necessary, in my opinion. And that's just 1 Silva, 1 Ceruli with the brows, the 3 Gentas, the 3 Snow, the 1 Rainbow, and the 2 Graphas. But onto the card by card, we have 1 Rainbow, 2 Grapha, and I think that this is all that you need. You don't want to clog on them. You at least want to see 1 of them. And then we have the 1 Beige, the 3 Snow, the 3 Genta, the 2 Bigfoot, the 2 Danger Bird, the 3 Mothman, the 3 Nessie, the 1 Tsushinoko, the 1 Jackalope, the 1 Chupacabra, the 2 Catalyzer, the 1 Ceruli, the 1 Silva, the 3 Brow, the 1 Library, the 1 Accession, the 1 Card Destruction, the Upstart Goblin, the 3 Allures, and the 3 Gates to round out the main deck. Onto the extra deck, we have the 2 Grapha, the Coach King. We've taken out the Hope Harbinger for Zombie Stein because it actually plays around Dark Ruler, and I also kept the Dingirsu for going second, though it can definitely change to Hope Harbinger depending on the format. Then for the rank 4s, we have Baguska, number 60, and Abyss Dweller. Pretty much mandatory in the deck, as number 60 can help you extend and build further onto your plays, while Baguska can just save you from terrible draws in the right matchup. Then we have the Muckracker, the Akashic Magician, Security Dragon, the IP Masquerena, the Nightmare Unicorn, the Appaloosa, and the Underworld Goddess to round out the extra deck. To the options, and I've mentioned this before with the Lucent and the Ido, it's all the recent hits that we've taken to Dark Worlds. If you want to give the deck more power, this is still an option. The tour guide into Songon play to search your Neko can be cute too, though it does require a lot of deck space. You're playing the 3 tour guides, the 1 Songon, along with the Neko, so that is noteworthy to point out. I think the Dark Spirit cards that I was trying out in my last Dark World video, if I were to do it again, I would probably just use 1 of them, and it would be Dark Spirit of Malice and just a 1 of, because it is nice to have that recurability for Gates of the Dark World in hands where you may not open the greatest. The ability to occasionally freely get back your 8s is nice too, as sometimes you may not have access to that Dark World on board depending on how your turn goes, interruptions and other stuff like that. In every video I've made until now, I've also shown the Dark Spirits Mastery. This is just another way to play Lava Golem. As you saw, we normal summoned really late in that combo video, and it was a going first combo. Dark Spirits Mastery, search Lava Golem, can be helpful in a lot of different formats. And as you can see, Puppet here is as an option now. This is because I've focused this build just around turboing. This is also why we only have the 1 Accession, 1 Library. It's so that we don't clog on them and we can just see everything that just helps us draw. The dangers in tandems with your Brow, Gates, Genta being able to add Gates and such. You'll also see that I don't play Skull Dread. That's because I wanted a balance of options for the Exceeds. Still playing just what's absolutely necessary as far as linked monsters and the copies of the Grapha Fusion. Anyways, that's all I have for today's video, and if you made it this far, I thank you for watching and I hope you enjoyed. If you have any suggestions, feel free to leave them down below. It's Bones, signing out.